I've got this aftermarket pole pruner for the Stihl Kombi system. I'm going to give it a quick review. Let's get into it. First of all, the thing that I noticed was that this is only a 13mm spanner that you need for it, not the size that's on the Stihl sprockets. So there, that's that little screw. That's it. Tightening and loosening the chain tension. Easy enough. But it's pretty annoying that it doesn't have that standard sized socket for the nut, because when you're out and about it's pretty annoying if you have to keep remembering different size spanners, because they're just going to get left in gardens all over the place. I know it. It's got the standard safety features, so if the chain snaps, this will stop it flying at you. Here's the oil cap, which is a screw cap, which I like because I find that the Stihl ones where you clip them in are pretty annoying, because you think you've tightened it in and suddenly you pick up the saw and your oil goes all over the floor, and it's usually your last bit of oil that you've got to go and replace. It's got this little mechanism for adjusting the angle. Ow. Not sure how much I would use that function. We'll see. When I've used it so far, it's been pretty handy. The only things I tend to use it for are if you're on the top of a ladder and you're just cutting the top of a hedge, and then you need to just cut one slightly thick branch that you don't want to climb onto the top of the hedge to get to with loppers or a normal handsaw, and there's too many of them to just go through it with a normal pole saw, so it's just saving you a bit of effort. The other thing, it doesn't come with an insert. So if you see the normal ones, the Stihl ones will come, they've got this plastic insert, which isn't really too much of a problem because you can buy packs of them really cheaply off eBay. Just search Kombi insert or something like that. I've done it before, because they do sometimes get tired out and you need to replace them. And so part of the reason why I would get these is because they're 80 quid rather than the Stihl ones are 180 quid when I checked. And seeing as I don't use them that often, it just seems to make sense for me to try it out. I spoke to quite a few people who weren't happy with the Stihl ones anyway, so why not give it a go? There's a good start. Different size. Here's the Stihl one. That's what it's supposed to do. Anyway, enough of that. Let's see how it actually gets on in action. So you can see here, I just had a little bit of brush in the way, so it cleared that away absolutely no problem. It'd be pretty alarming if it had any issues with that. So these are just about 1 inch thick, and it's just breezing through them as you'd sort of expect it to be able to do. The lack of the plastic insert, it made me fearful that it would somehow rotate in the housing, but if you just do up the clamp pretty tightly, it seems to be perfectly fine. you're not going to be using it for that long anyway, so it didn't cause me any problems. I can't see why it would cause you any. It made really short work of the small timber, which is exactly what I wanted it for. It does have a shorter guide bar than the Stihl version, but I can't really see why you'd want anything with a 12-inch bar, because if you're cutting stuff that needs a 12-inch bar, you're going to run into some issues anyway, so the 8-inch bar that's on it is more than adequate. So one of the things that was actually a little bit disappointed with, overall, it's pretty good. If you're just using it for bits of light timber, it's perfect for it. So other than this, there's also let's have a look, a grease nipple here, which is actually better than most of the Stihl stuff that usually just comes with something you unscrew. And you just sort of squirt your Stihl toothpaste into it, or you have to buy a little syringe type grease gun. Whereas this one's actually got a standard, well, I think it's quite a small grease nipple actually. Don't know whether you can see that. And the other thing, my main concern with it, is that because it just came in wrapped in bin liners, there was no information on the chain size, so I don't know what chain file to get. So maybe someone's got any bright ideas who does a lot of sharpening and is a bit better with saws than me, could say how I could find out what size file I need to get and what angle I need to sharpen this chain at, because most of the other stuff actually tells you, and you need it to be able to service it. You can't operate a chainsaw unless you know how to sharpen it really. I'm not going to take it to the workshop every time I want to make a few more cuts. But overall, I'd be fairly confident that I could rely on it just for a few little bits. It's just a time saver. I'm not going to be ever relying on using it all day, and for that it's perfect. I haven't used the Stihl one, so I can't comment on that. The one thing that I've noticed, it doesn't really seem to be squirting much of the oil onto the chain. I'm not quite sure, it's not really using much oil at all when I've used it for a little while. It seems to be working. I'm not going to use it that much. I think it's perfect if you need something occasionally. It's just if there's a few too many for the pole pruner, you know, the one that you actually pull back and forth, then it's perfect for that. Or if there's something a bit thick, I think it's brilliant. So for me, why would I spend £100 more on something that I don't use that often? It seems like a good choice just for the average gardener. If you're using them all the time, you're probably not even watching this video because you're not going to give a shit about spending £180 on something that you use every day. Thanks a lot. See you in the next episode.